Yes, everybody, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Welcome back, Spurs fans. We are going to be breaking down the Champions League evening from last night. Thomas Frank's first ever win in a European competition of any kind, especially the Champions League, which is the top tier competition, which feels good to be back in. It feels like where Spurs belong. We also have a West Ham game to break down. So definitely some different games. One was a stellar performance, if you ask me. Maybe I'm being generous, but I thought it was. It's the last time we won that convincingly at West Ham. It's been a long, long time. And the Champions League one, maybe not so much, but a win is a win, is what a lot of people are saying. But then others are actually pretty critical of the performance. We already have three people in here with me. We have Rain Man, Rhino, and of course, Mia. Good to have these three with us. And I think we'll get the show underway. Please, everybody, smash the like button. And as you come in here, feel free to ask us anything or give your opinion on last night's performance, as well as, of course, the West Ham one, which we'll be discussing, because I still think it's good to go over that game as well. But I think we'll start with what's very recent and what's very fresh on our minds, which is the Champions League from last night. Mia, I'll give you the honors to start off with. What did you make of last night's performance? Plenty of people were pretty critical, while as others are just like, a win is a win. Who cares?
I think I'm a bit of both. I think that a win is a win, but it was a bit of a scrappy game, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Like, we started off pretty okay, but they seemed to then go a bit deeper. We found it quite hard to break them down. They did have some chances, so I do think that we weren't great. And then the second half, we seemed to really take our foot off the pedal at all, and they really come on strong, and they look like the better side in that second half, which was disappointing. We did have a few opportunities, like when Porro broke away, but there's nobody there. We broke. I think we took the ball, we won the ball back, and then Richie did a missed pass, which obviously could have been a good little break for us, but we didn't. So it was just a game of missed opportunities and a bit of a meh game. I don't think they were particularly good. They had Pepe, who he was the most dangerous player, unfortunately. And then
The
they
dangerous
they
and
just
most wasteful, felt like.
yeah, and then they just couldn't score. So it was a bit of a meh game, if I'm honest. But I wanted us to win it, and we won it. So the points are the points in it. That's what we need to get on the board.
Fair summary. Fair summary. What about you, Rain Man? How did you feel about last night's game? I can't really disagree with what Mia said. I'm happy with the win, to be honest. Like, I'm more of a results guy. I don't really care as much about the beautiful football. I'm not saying people have to feel the same as me, but yeah, it wasn't really that great a performance, to be honest.
Um, yeah, everything Mia said. Um, some takeaways. I mean, I'm the same as you, Jack. You know, um,
I don't
I don't
demand
think.
high quality football every game. I'm one of
Yeah,
those.
I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't exist. Right? It only exists in prime Barcelona, and if people want to, create prime Barcelona, then you have to realise that nobody else has done it. Um, in the last 50 years. So um, you have to grind out um, results, and we have to accept that we're at the start of um, of what Frank is trying to do, and surely everybody accepts that the basis for a successful team is to concede as few goals as possible. It's the basis. Yes, you want to score lots of goals at the other end, and there is definitely problems there. I'll quite happily talk about that, but um, the being defensively sound, and even to the point, Jack, where you know the famous Jose quote. We need more
Yeah.
in this team. Right? None of us would say that about Van de Ven. If you saw the interview
Yeah, I did.
with the Premier League interview with Van de Ven, he's such. I'm an old man. I could I be his granddad? I could almost be his granddad, right? And I look at him and I think, he's just such a nice kid. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
such
yeah.
a nice kid.
Couldn't hurt a
Such
fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's such a nice lad. Do you know what I mean? I think there's many mothers who would not, you know, I think 99% of mothers would absolutely love it if their you know, if their daughters or whatever brought him home. Absolutely, 100%. Such a nice. But when he took out that guy,
I was about to ask you that. Yep.
when he took out, I can't remember who it was, but when he took him out, and you know, it was a free kick, not a, it was definitely a free kick, not a pen. But he took him out. You know, it wasn't dangerous, but he definitely, it was like either
It was the right move, though,
goal,
right? I think it was the right decision to do that, to take him out.
Absolutely, this is the point. The point is that it's this that there is definitely this mentality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that coming from Romero? Is it coming from Frank? Is it a combination?
Probably.
You know, we've seen it in the past with Vicario and Romero, you know, doing lots of high fives every time, you know, they do a tackle. But I'm all in for it. If we can keep that and make it consistent at the back, and I think it might have been on the commentary, or somewhere, I can't remember where it was, made the point that nobody tackles Romero. Nobody goes anywhere near him. And there's a good reason for that. One, he's a great passer of the ball. He's so solid on the ball. But also, you really don't want to mess with that guy. He's
No,
like,
yeah.
you know,
You don't want to give him a reason to look
Yeah.
at you twice, type of person. Did you think that was a red card, Van de Ven's challenge?
No,
Or
because Romero's close enough.
Yeah.
To the to make it no doubt, and also it was a little bit far out, you know.
What about Xavi Simons? You know, second. I'm just asking. You know, there may be two potential red cards that Spurs could have received. One was also Xavi Simons' second challenge.
I think we can all agree that that second challenge, for which he didn't get a yellow, was more of a yellow than his first challenge. although his first challenge, you know, that's a yellow card. That's a yellow card. Even if you do it by accident, if you stand on someone's foot, you know, I say fair play to the ref for spotting it, because that was a yellow card. I'll be brutally honest, I don't like it. I don't like referees going. I know it played to our favour in this instance. I think it was definitely a second yellow for Xavi. But I don't like refs going, I'm not going to give you a second yellow card because I know you're going to get sent off. I can't. It happened to us recently. Was it Bournemouth? It was Bournemouth with Semenyo.
Yeah.
He absolutely should have got a second yellow. Oh, it's his second yellow. I won't give it to him. No. Apply the rules.
Yeah.
Apply the rules.
Well, I will say, I think they say the second card threshold is higher than the first one. That's why they do that.
And I don't think it should be. I'm
not saying that's correct. I'm just saying that's what they say. But quickly on the Simmons, sorry, one to interrupt. But do you know what? He was kicking the ball, and the player came in for the ball. What's he supposed to do with his foot if he's going to kick the ball? I just think to myself, that's not logically, like, what physically is he supposed to do? Is he kicking the ball, and the player comes in for the ball? And he'd
You're saying it wasn't reckless or anything. You're saying
no. I think that actually the first yellow wasn't a yellow. I know maybe by the law, whatever, but I just think, what's he supposed to do with his foot? He was kicking the ball. He wasn't kicking the player. The player came in on him and he trod on his foot. Like, it's a bit like, what's he supposed to really do?
Everyone was incensed about the referee. I felt like there were some random decisions that were completely baffling from him that I just didn't understand. I don't think he was as terrible as people made him out to be either. Like, I think the two penalty shouts from Spurs fans, I thought were a little bit like, I mean, come on, like, do we really, we're not Madrid, you know, we don't get those sort of, you know, decisions of that being a handball or a penalty or something like that. And it was just, I just think maybe with that referee, it was just hard to know what he was going to give as a yellow, what he was going to give as a foul. For like 5-10 minutes, he would let everything slide. Then 5-10 minutes later, he's calling a foul for everything. Throw-in decisions were a bit weird at times. There were some corner goal kick decisions that were a bit strange at times. That's what I think it was. It was kind of hard for him. It was hard to predict what he was going to do. Maybe that's what made him kind of a bad referee on the evening.
You know, and if I go back to, I'm just trying to find what the guy's name was. If I go back to there we go. If I go back to Simon Hooper against Bournemouth, right? he completely lost that game.
Yeah.
He completely and utterly. I turned around to my mate. I won't say his name. Turned around to the guy who stands next to me, and we have a really good chatter. And I said to him, I said, "Do you think the ref realizes this is about halfway in through the second half? Do you think the ref realizes he's completely lost this game?" And he went, "Yeah," because he'd completely lost it. He had no control. It had gone completely away from him. The ref last night, I don't think he made that many bad decisions, if I'm brutally honest. And again, Mia says, about thresholds. I think we hold refs. I've always said it. We hold refs to a much, much higher threshold than we do players. We expect refs to make 0 mistakes. But if players made 0 mistakes, it would be like 10-9 every single game.
Interesting point.
So I'm of the view that refs will make mistakes because they're human, and quite frankly, in the same end, I'd like VAR to just go and just accept they're human beings who are going to make mistakes, and it either evens out or it doesn't. I don't really care. That's where I'm. But so I get what Mia's saying about David. I mean, from my and I agree. In the cold light of day, Xavi had there's nothing you could do. All I'm saying is it's always given, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always given. So I liked the fact that we were defensively solid. I like the fact that we're 4 clean sheets in 5, and this is the foundation upon which we need to build. We've got partnerships. Football is about relationships, and we've got Van de Ven and Kuti in that central defence, and they have an amazing relationship together, and that's a massive reason why we're able to be as solid as well. I think Bentancur, who I don't think is playing that well, but that's another story. But I think Bentancur and Paulinho have actually got a pretty good relationship when they're on the pitch. Sarr and Bergvall, everybody's talking about Bergvall, but I think the pair of them have got a great. They each of them knows when to go forward and when to not.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Bergvall can get forward as much, and that's because he's got confidence that Sarr's going to help him out. In his number 8 partner, he's got the confidence to go forward, and the same with Sarr. So we're building good relationships all over the pitch, except fullback, except down both sides. I think down both sides, the relationship's got a lot of work to do, and I'm quite happy to talk about that. But
I'm happy to come back to that. Ryan, anything that you would want to say about the referees, and then just your initial thoughts on the game in general?
Look, right, the referee for all Champions League games, so that I recall seeing, right, we've always had a shit referee, and I'm sorry, it's the only way I can put it. For the Champions League, we always have a shit referee. There's no other way to sum that up. He had an appalling game, and come on, there's no way that you can turn around, right?
So you're saying that we should have had a red card then, right?
I'm just saying the first one shouldn't have even been a yellow.
Okay.
So realistically, right, it was absolutely atrocious. The refereeing was absolutely. I've seen The Walking. I don't even like The Walking Dead, and I'd have more entertainment and actually pick less faults out of that than I would out of that refereeing decision. Than refereeing decisions yesterday. Honestly, it was poor. It was absolutely poor. With the game, I'll take that. I'll take a 1-0. I'll take a 1-0 win any day. It's Thomas Frank tactics. Absolutely I will take that every single day of the week. Absolutely. Scrappy win, who cares? A scrappy win is a scrappy win. Let's take it. Let's get them 3 points on the board. Simple. I don't discourage Thomas Frank for doing that. No way. Right? Yeah. Would it have been nice to have had the open flow in football? Yeah, of course. But it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen this early on. Come on. Right? We're not gonna score early every game. Right? But I mean, well, when you look at it from where he played with Brentford, it's quite late in the first half. Late in that first half when he was on that one of 25-second goals per game at Brentford, if you remember rightly, Jack. So it's kind of late if you think about it. But realistically, I'm happy with the 3 points.
Yeah, I think we all.
It's Thomas Frank who's got to literally. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, I didn't accept it when it came from Ange because it was absolutely atrocious, right? Because we'd never do it. We would never ever do it, right? But under Frank, yeah, I can accept it. I will accept it. And like I've said since the beginning of the year, Frank has got a free pass. There's nothing else I can say on that. Simple. Am I wanting? And do I think we'll just to add on to that? Yeah, though. Do I think we'll win all our Champions League games? No, I don't. I think and when we play PSG, we'll probably get a draw. But I think the rest of them are very easy to win, apart from the PSG game.
Mia, what did you make of, kind of some of these comments? I personally really agree with this summary from Jason Bell. Defensively solid, incredibly sloppy, and gave away the ball constantly. Lack of creativity and cohesion in the final third. I think there's a bit of a split in the fan base, Mia, between whether it's Thomas Frank, that his tactics just aren't developed yet when it comes to maybe the attacking sense. And then there are others, personally like myself, who just felt like the guys just couldn't even complete simple passes. Like, we would have all these breakaways and then we would just give it right back to Villarreal. That was my kind of take from the game.
And
But some people feel a bit differently about it, that maybe it wasn't the players' fault.
And also, can I point out, when the players did this under Ange, everyone blamed Ange for them passing it badly
Yeah,
and making stupid
I
mistakes.
agree. It's
And
the same problem.
actually, it's the same problem, right? Same problem, different manager. It was atrocious. So we were like, I think it was like the 57th minute, for like a good 2 minutes, we just could not keep hold of the ball. I was swearing so badly at the television. I was like, what are you doing? Like, for God's sakes. Like, I was getting so angry at them
I agree.
for doing that. But I do also think that Frank could have made changes sooner, in my humble opinion, because you could
Yeah.
see they were getting a bit leggy, and
I agree.
perhaps he could have made changes a bit sooner. So I'm not ultimately really critical of Frank at all. But I think there's things that maybe when he's playing games like this, we're playing more games that maybe he needs to be a bit more aware with the changes that could make the difference to bring on some fresh legs. That's the only thing I would say that I would perhaps say about Frank. But yes, the players, they were absolute bozos. What were they doing, giving the ball away every 2 seconds? Honestly, I was getting so annoyed with them. They were bloody useless. But I do think as well, Frank is in early days of Frank. Maybe I think he's worked on the defence a lot, and perhaps hasn't quite got into getting us attacking as free flowing as what we would like. And I think that will come. I think it will come, but I think it will just take a bit of time to get him implemented. We're so early on with Frank. Like I say, I won't be like mega critical of him, and I'm not also going to be a hypocrite and criticise him for things that weren't his fault, like mispassing, just like people did with Ange. So
I
I like to
completely
say
agree with
I'm
that
fair.
point. That we saw the same thing under Ange. Just
Yeah, that
quickly,
was a
Ryan.
dig at you. If I have to say your name, one for you to know, but if you think it's about you, then obviously it's about you, innit?
I do want to come in and agree with you though, Mia. Like, that was one of my biggest gripes last season, was whatever you want to say about Ange's tactics. There were a lot of games though where we just were so poor in possession in terms of just being able to execute simple passes in behind, simple balls into the final third. When we would win it back, we would immediately give it back to the opposition. And even Frank joked about it in his press conference after the game. He was like, there was about 10 or 15 minutes, he said, in the second half where every time we won it, we just gave it right back to them, and we had to sprint back towards our own goal. And it was like, well, that's kind of a similar thing that we experienced. It felt like under Ange as well. And I think that's more on the players than it really is on the manager. It feels like a situation of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't, whatever the phrase goes, you can't make them drink it. It felt that way, where we were winning the ball in some decent areas. Villarreal, we were putting them under pressure. There were some decent times when we had the ball in the middle of the half, in the center circle. And then Sarr and everybody, really, I think just everybody was guilty of it, would just immediately, for some reason, just simple pass to one player right in front of them. They just couldn't do it. They would just balloon it out of play, or they would just balloon it towards a Villarreal player. That's what I think made the game. That's what made the game drab and boring, in my opinion. It was just, there was no quality at times.
So I think there's a few things. The first thing is, after what Mia said, Ryan is clearly so vain, because he always thinks this is about him, and it is. It's about him. Just like as soon as Mia said that song just went, the song just went around in my head. I think we've got the problem. So our attacking, hey Eugene, our attacking problems. I think we've got the same problem on both sides of the pitch, right? And the problem that we've got is that the fullback and the forward want to either invert or not invert, right? So on the right-hand side, Porro wants to stay wide and put crosses in. Kudos wants to stay wide and put crosses in. And when he did come in, he needs to learn that he's got teammates, that he can pass it short. But they both want to stay wide, which means they're in the same space. And they're like, where am I going? At one point, I saw Porro coming inside, like the inverted fullbacks, like they do under Ange. And I saw him look around, and it was just like, I'm not supposed to be here. I could see it in his head. I'm not supposed to be here. And he went back, right? So they're getting in each other's way. And then on the other side, we've got, and I'm very clear, Spencer's I think he's a fantastic footballer. But because he's right-footed, and I'm afraid it's as simple as this. Because he's right-footed, he wants to invert, which he did brilliantly under Ange. He wants to come inside and join the midfield when he comes up front, because he's right-footed. It gives him the angle to play it. But Xavi doesn't want to be out wide like Kudos doesn't. Xavi wants to come in and play sort of a not being political, a left of centre 10. That's where Xavi wants to play, right? He wants to play just to the left of a 10. That's where he wants to be. He wants to like
combine with someone, make a little run off of them type of move. He likes to play the quick 1-2.
If you've got the 6-yard box, right? You've got the 6-yard box. You've got the penalty area. And you've got the 6. He wants to be on that line, on that 6-yard box line. That's where he wants to be. He wants to be sort of drifting around there, either centre or a little bit left. But that's where he wants to be, and that's where Spence wants to be, because he's right-footed. So we've got, going back to relationships, with these relationships are not working, and I'm afraid to say that I genuinely think the only way to solve it is we can't play unless we just want to be defensively solid, which means that Spence doesn't go forwards. We can't play Spence and Porro in the same game. It has to be your doggy, because he will overlap, and on the left-hand side, and potentially, and Porro or Spence on the right-hand side. Just have to be a bit more disciplined.
Okay, so Rain, just quickly, before Eugene comes in, right? Would you accept this for 1 year, that we win like 1-0 every game? Because I would, just for this one season, just to win 1-0 every game. I certainly would. I would take that if that means we're winning the Champions League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup, and the Premier League. Even though I know we're not going to get anywhere near the Premier League, but still.
I would take 17th in the Europa League again, to be honest. But
I'm not sure about that, Jack. I absolutely would. Jose beat Barcelona with Inter Milan. It was Inter Milan. And he set up to just nullify them. and won the Champions League. You can't rerun it because Barcelona are a better football team, a better footballing team. You either win or you lose. I don't want us to be ultra pragmatic. I think Frank will fix it, and this actually is another point that I'd like to get onto at some point, Jack.
Yeah.
The way that Frank is interacting with us through the media is elite. It really is so good. Because I think Frank knows. I think from all that Frank has said, I think he knows this is a problem. And if he knows it is a problem, the first step to solving a problem is knowing you've got a problem.
Well,
right?
he's pretty honest, actually, which is kind of why I like his press conferences. Whereas, like, here's a good example: a lot of managers tend to exaggerate or lie about how the game went wrong or whatever in certain games. Like, I remember Graham Potter said in his most recent game against Spurs, he said, "Oh, I thought we dealt with the set pieces pretty well." It was like, come on, mate. Like, you can't be saying that with a straight face. And like Thomas Frank will say, yeah, I don't know what we were doing for 10, 15 minutes. We just kept giving the ball away. We kept giving it back to them. And he's often has also said, yeah, I felt like I got that wrong. I'm not really, happy with how maybe I prepared for that game. So he's actually quite honest about just what went wrong in a game. And like you're saying, maybe that is a good way to approach the fan base and connect with them by not just telling them just absolute lies, of how the game underwent. Because in a sense, like Conte and Jose, they were all like puzzles and mind games and stuff, and it was kind of a bit annoying. Whereas Frank is a bit just honest about it all. I think it's a good point.
And it may not benefit him in the long run.
Yeah,
but in the short run, it's making me look and think, this guy. I mean, in the Carrick interview, which Drew in the run up to the West Ham game, Drew said, has everybody seen the Carrick interview? So I went and looked at it between the
it was a great interview.
Between the build-up. It was fun. It wasn't so much an interview as an older coach and a younger coach, having a mentoring session. Do you know what I mean? It was like Frank was mentoring Carrick, and he said in there what you said. He said about the Bournemouth game. Said I messed up. Said I can see that I watched it back and I can see all the mistakes that I made. That's great, because that means he's going to learn lessons. And I hope that we're learning lessons, because that's the only way you fix them.
Eugene, we're kind of discussing first. I mean, if you want to get your thoughts on the referee, you're welcome to. Plenty of people thought he was terrible, like Brian. I kind of thought he was pretty bad, but not the worst I've ever seen. And then also just your thoughts on the game in general, whether it's more Thomas Frank that got it wrong, or it's just the players just not really having a good night.
I mean, the referee was great. Simmons was supposed to get a red card. Van der Van, that was iffy. Probably wasn't a red card, but I'll
Lucky
take it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people again say I'm negative, this and that. Super happy with the 3 points. Champions League, that's all that matters. Just get the points, and get out of there. However, performance, I wasn't happy with it. We did get lucky on the day, to be honest. I feel like they had more clear-cut chances. But again, it's about time we got some luck. So I'm super happy with the result. My kind of concern is not even what I saw in this game in isolation. It's the trends that I'm seeing so far this season in our first 4 games. The attack or the front 3, as I expected, does not look good. I just don't see where the goals are going to be coming from. Most of our chances come from corner kicks and set pieces.
Why do you think the front 3 is poor at the minute?
I mean, Xavi, for me, is not a left winger. He needs to play down the middle, because on the left, we're wasting the creativity that he's got. And Kudus is over-dribbling, overplaying, because I don't think he has the confidence in the striker. Nobody's making those runs for him to pass the ball to, so he feels like he needs to do everything, and he's overplaying. Again, most of our chances come from set pieces, which is great. Again, score any way you can. I just don't see our front three giving us enough goals because Simmons, if he plays on the left, he's not really a goal scorer, and Kudus is not really a goal scorer. They might chip in with 5, 6, 7, but we lost Son and his contribution. We need goals. Mwani might be that player. Again, I'm not super high on him, but Solanke I'm sure is going to help. I want to see him in the system, but I'm seeing changes defensively. But again, like people are saying, our defense is amazing. We did make some mistakes. We're still stretched at points, but it was clear that Frank has been working on our set pieces and on our defense, which is great to see. And as Rhino and Rain said, based on Frank's press conference, you can see he knows where the issues are, which is awesome. My issue is not with Frank and his tactics, because I really like what I'm seeing. My issue is with the quality and the lack of business that, we did or didn't do in the transfer window. That lack of a left winger is going to cost us, I feel like. And I'm not sure how Frank can fix that void. That's my concern.
Could he
Just
give
the lack of
Odegaard maybe more opportunities, or is Odegaard just not ready?
Oh, I would play honestly. I'd play him on the left, and I'd play Simmons or Simons down the middle. That's what I would do. I would give Odegaard more chances because again, he might not be clinical, but he's a winger who can take his man on and put in a cross. So I would do
No.
it. Then the question is, if Simons plays down the middle, who sits, right?
Yeah, that's a
And
good.
just one
Sure.
more thing, I want to say, everybody is saying that Bentancur had a great game, and I don't know. For me, defensively, he's okay. He's good.
I don't think he had a
However,
great game. I haven't seen a lot of people
yeah.
praise him. I'm
However,
surprised.
what
Yeah.
really bugs me is, and maybe it's the tactics, but I'm not sure. Every time he got the ball, he passed it back, which gives the other team time to get back into shape. Other than Bergval in our midfield, we don't have anybody who takes the ball and pushes it and take some chances. I don't see any through balls. I don't see any passes into space. The only person who does that is Romero and Poro sometimes. And
I
Bentancur just feels like he plays so safe that I don't know. I'm not a fan of him. Polinia is a destroyer, so I get it. And even with Polinia, I can see some passes forward. Bentancur every single time he got the ball, he passed it back to Romero or sideways, which given our lack of creativity and cutting edge, we should be hitting teams on the counter. So I want that 6, getting the ball and pushing it so we can catch the teams. Otherwise, when they set up, we don't have the striker or the left winger to beat mid or low blocks.
I
No,
don't
I,
I
I, I,
don't
don't-
agree with the view on Palhinha. I'm seeing a bit of a trend, and I can understand the perspective, absolutely. But I just don't agree with it. I think Palhinha is doing exactly what he's being asked to do.
Polinia, I agree. I'm talking about Bentancur.
Oh,
Because
he's doing a
Bentancur,
Bentancur.
yeah,
Oh, I don't
Polinia is
think he
doing
was saying
exactly what
in-
he needs to do.
Oh,
But
sorry, I
Bentancur,
got the wrong end of the stick. I don't think Bentancur's been playing very well at all.
yeah, so
Yeah, I think you mentioned that earlier.
Polini is a destroyer, so he's doing his job. Bentancur, when he's at the 6, I expect him. He's a ball playing like mid. I expect him to get that ball and to push it forward, and he just doesn't do it.
I'm a
So
big
I
fan of
just have different
Bentancur's.
expectations from
I'm
Bentancur.
I'm a big fan of Bentancur's, but I agree with you in that game in particular. I thought he was actually way too safe in possession at times. And I think defensively, I've seen him have much better games than he did last night as well. I thought there were plenty of times where he did get the ball was just run past him or taken past him when it just shouldn't have been. I don't think he had a terrible game, but I don't think he had a great game really
And if-
either
and
in
Jack-
possession and out of possession, to be
If
honest.
Simon,
I don't think he's doing any job well. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think-
how I would
exactly.
say both last night. But I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of his, where I do think he's had plenty of amazing performances that go under the radar as
So
well.
boys,
See,
But
I-
Mia, we haven't heard
so
from you in a while,
the,
Mia.
Yeah,
the
I
question is,
think
if Simons plays at the 10, who sits? Because I really
That's a good
I
question.
like Bergval. I like the way he plays. I like the aggression. And Sar has been really good, but Sar is not a 6. And if Simons plays at the 10, if it's Polinia and who's at the 8? Is it Sar? Is it Bergval? Is it Bentancur? We have some decisions to make.
See, I think that Paulinho and Bentancur play better when they're together. I think that when Bentancur is made to do the Paulinho type job, I don't think he does it as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I think the problem, because when he plays with Paulinho, I think he looks a lot better. Because I
He's still
think he
not as
feels like,
aggressive as Bergvall. Like Bergvall, I'll just love his aggression. He takes the ball and he pushes
yeah,
it.
yeah, no, I agree.
He's aggressive on the ball. We need somebody like that.
Yeah,
And
no, I do like, but I love Bergvall. Like, I agree. I'm just saying, I think Bentancur is better. There might be some games where we need a Bentancur and a Paulinho. There might be games where we've got a Bergvall. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that different games could need different tools. So I do think that Bentancur plays better when he's with Paulinho, when it's them two. But I think when he's not there, I think that responsibility that Bentancur has, I think he doesn't do very well.
Is it a good problem that it feels like a lot of our midfielders aren't really that identical to each other? A lot of them are actually slightly varied from each other in terms of what they really excel at and what they, are skilled in, maybe less skilled in. And maybe that's a good thing because then you have a bit more variation. But at the same time, when you plug one into a different position, you will lose something, that maybe the other player had. Just quickly, Mia, your thoughts on Xavi Simons coming through the middle, because Eugene seems to think that's the solution to things. But then you're going to drop Bergvall or Sarr, who have been both brilliant.
That's the thing. It's about who you're going to drop. But like I say, not every game perhaps will do that. And I do think there's enough games for others to get games. But I do think that Simmons will be better down the middle. And then it's going to be the left problem, isn't it? Like you were saying, like who's going to come on, who we're going to give that opportunity to. Obviously, we can put Richarlison there because I think he's better on the left than down the middle. If we can put a Moani down the middle, so there is obviously options. And obviously, you've got Johnson again, LA. He's the one who scores the goals that we're missing currently. Anyway, just drop that in there. But no, in seriousness, like we have got options, but it's about moving it around a bit. But I do think that with Charleston on the left, Moani down the middle, and Javi playing that in the mid, like as in the 10, the creativity would be better, in my opinion.
We've had a few head shakes from Ryan. Ryan, do you want to come in?
Yeah, look, right. First of all, Carlo Moani, he's not fit yet. So we need to get that saying where Eugene said he wasn't happy with him yesterday, right? He's not fit yet, Eugene. Let him have his time, and then you'll be able to then see a better side to Carlo Moani. And he's better than anyone else we've got there, Eugene, mate. He really is. I don't like Solanke. I don't like Richarlison. And I would rather not play Oda, but I'd rather have Richarlison out on that left-hand side and have Kudos on that right-hand side and just go from there, because literally I don't even like Johnson. We need to get cover in for that right-hand side as well as that left-hand side, and we need to sort out that left-hand side first, realistically, right? In January, and then also get someone better in than Johnson on that right-hand side after we've sorted out that left-hand side, and then we can have Simmons in that middle. Where I do agree with you is that he should be playing in that middle.
The thing, so I was thinking about Moani, what you said is that he needs to get game time to get fit, because how is he going to get match fit unless he plays matches? So we have to play him here and there in matches to obviously get him up to speed. And he wasn't great when he did come on, because he did look a bit like he didn't want to run around, like he did look a bit lazy in a way. But of course, if he isn't fit, I understand, but we have to give him games to get fit. And when he comes on, he has to put in an effort to get fit.
Fair.
And I think he will in the long run. I think he will in the long run, Mia. Honestly, I think he'll come good and we'll buy him permanently. I think he'll come good, but we just need to give him that like you said, we need to give him that game time. And I 100% agree with you with that. We need to give him that game time. But the one thing I'm not going to have, is where people are saying, oh, well, he's not good at the moment, but he's got to get fit to show that he's good enough.
But no, right now, I'm not saying he didn't do well. I agree with you. He's not fit. I'm just saying, but looking at kind of how he played at Juve and Paris, I don't think he's the clinical striker that's gonna do bits for us. I hope I'm wrong.
I think he will.
I think when Solanke is fit with Moani on the left, Solanke down the middle, I think we might do okay. Richarlison, he doesn't do anything for me at all. He just runs around great, he presses great, but we need some quality. Again, we're missing a lot of goals. We need quality and goal scoring. So Richarlison on the left, he did well when he played there, but again, against teams that, where we need somebody to create, somebody, to pass the ball, to score, he's just not that guy. I would give
But the thing with
Odegaard a
Solanke,
chance to see what he can do. And Moani ultimately on the left with Solanke down the middle. I think that's our best chance.
Solanke, I don't like Solanke and I don't want Solanke. Sorry, Rain, go in, mate. I just wanted to get that last bit in first. Come.
But before I say my bit, right, Ryan, because I really want to hear it. If Solanke was fit yesterday, right, Moani, I agree with you. He's not. It's good for him to get 10, 15 minutes for him to get the dynamo up to speed.
Yeah.
But if Solanke was fit yesterday and Richarlison and Scarlett, let's face it, Scarlett was also fit. Which of those three are you going to start?
Scarlett. Sorry,
I don't disagree with you. but look, I think
I don't like Richarlison and I don't like Solanke. I'm sorry, that's how bad it is. I would rather play Scarlett, but still, go.
I know, mate. I was joking on the WhatsApp group that I'm on. It's time to release the Scarlet. I'm going to release the Scarlet. It's time for Scarlet to come on. I think everybody is trying to solve the same problem, which is Richarlison is isolated. Xavi is looking a bit lost out on that left-hand side because he wants to play closer in. Kudus wants to beat his man and cross the ball in, but then who's he crossing to? Richarlison is isolated and he's got two central defenders, and so often there was no one else in the box. With Richarlison, I think everybody's trying to solve this problem, and I would solve it very, very simply. I would just go to Richarlison, to Kudus and Xavi. You're not wingers. Just play inside forward.
You know what? I would go 3-4-2-1 with Xavi and Kudus as 2 10s.
Yeah, or 4-3-2-1. Either way, but either way, have them as 2 10s. Not in the same space, but a little bit wider. And then,
honestly, we're just not going to fit. We have a lot of average wingers and strikers fighting for 2 positions, and none of them are much better. Again, I think Solanke has more quality than Richarlison. He proved it. I mean, I would trust him more. And Moani again on the left, it'd be interesting to see. But
let's not forget
our options are average.
Richarlison was the darling of the whole Spurs fan base for the first couple of games.
It just he scores 2 worldies and then he doesn't. No, he just doesn't. At least with Solanke, when he doesn't score, you can see him linking up play. He can pass the ball. He does things that Richarlison just cannot do. And if he's not in the box for the crosses from Kudus, there's no excuse. That's the only thing that he can do. Just get in the box and win those headers.
OG yesterday was very much in part caused by a certain pigeon Richarlison.
Yeah.
Coming. It absolutely was, Eugene. That goalkeeper had an eye on Richarlison, and the best bit of the whole game was seeing in slow-mo the ball bounce down the goalie's down the length of the goalie, down the length, down past his legs, and Richarlison sliding in behind, looking at the ball, and he was like, "Whoa!" That's the ball.
That Brazil team is finished.
Into the goal. The goalie panicked, and it was in part because Richarlison got into a good position.
The Brazilian team, that's their keeper over the future. Richarlison is their striker. What happened to Brazil? They're just finished. But just one thing I want to touch on when I came on, you guys were talking about Spence and lack of chemistry with Xavi, which I agree. Like, I mean, I've been really underwhelmed with Udogie. Every time I've seen play, he doesn't do it for me defensively, and even offensively, he hasn't been great. Like Spence, he does have issues in the final third, but defensively, he's super solid. And I feel like if we play Poro on one end, we need to play Spence on the left. Because if it's Udogie and Poro, we're going to be too wide open. So I don't know. I feel like Spence earned the spot. But his lack of relationship with or chemistry with Xavi is obvious. Like I think there was a time Xavi was like just running down the wing wide open, asking for the ball, and Spence just looked at him and passed the ball backwards.
Because he's right-footed. Because he can't.
Yeah.
It's in the wrong place. I think people are disrespecting Villarreal as well. I thought Villarreal's setup was very, very solid.
I mean, they outplayed us, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think this 3-4-3 that three, it's really, really robust. It's it's a system that when played well is actually really hard to break down. It's Conte's system, isn't it?
But right, man, like
wasn't
it's
a
not about this
4-4-2.
game,
It kind of
right?
felt like 4-4-2, or am I misremembering?
I thought they had three of them.
4-4-2 with Mikatadze and a different. I forgot the
I think it was
striker's
Pepe
name.
up top with Mikatadze.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I remembered it. And 4-4-2 can also be hard to break down defensively. It's a good formation to transition on teams as well. It's a kind of tried and tested for a reason. I agree with you on the Jet Spence thing. Maybe it might not work with Xavi. I just think in particular that was just one of maybe Jet Spence's slightly poorer games, because I don't think he dealt with Nicolas Pepe as well as he could have. And then there was times in possession where I understand he's not linking up with Xavi well, but he also just gave it away a couple of times pretty unnecessarily, where in other games he's been a lot more reliable in making the right decision when put under pressure. And I just thought that game he was among a long list of players I just felt like were really sloppy in possession at times, and just giving it away.
Defensively, we need him, right? Because I mean, if you look at the league, most of the best wingers are on his side. So I'm willing to give up a bit offensively if he actually helps us out on the defensive end, where Poro is the opposite. So I think it's a good balance. With Udogie, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think Udogie.
Oh, sorry,
I don't think Udogie, because I think he does get forward better. Sometimes in the final third, I find Spence has got a little bit like less so. And also, I feel like we don't want Spence to get too comfortable where he thinks that's his spot no matter what, and it can't be given up. I think that's also something I think's not good for players. I think they've got to have mentally the knowledge that actually you can be dropped, because I think that keeps them on their toes a little bit. I don't think that's a bad thing. So Udogie's been injured and he's had some bad injuries, and I'd like to see him get some minutes and see how he does go. I don't think that we should be playing Spence every single game because of injuries as well, because we always say about overworking players. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have Udogie as well. I don't think he's as bad maybe as what people are saying. Like, I do think he has his moments, but he's strong. He's strong on the ball, and I've seen him get back and be pretty good at times. But Poro, I think, is probably the weaker one of the two out of it when it comes defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just probably maybe one of Jet Spence's. Maybe we hold him to such a high standard defensively, but I thought that wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think they were all. I'm not trying to over criticize Spence at this point. I'm just saying I think that it'd be good for him to have a bit of knowledge that he isn't out like getting a bit above himself and thinking this is my spot forever. That it can be taken away from you, because I think that's not a bad thing to have, to keep them in there like a little bit grounded in a way, so they know that it isn't just going to be assumption that they're going to play.
Yeah, I wonder if anything, if Pedro Porro might have a bit more of that feeling like he's never going to be dropped for anybody. That's what I'm maybe more afraid of at times, because, we haven't gotten to see Jet Spence ever really play on the right, and then Udogie played on the left, mostly because injuries have just been a constant among the fullbacks, and that's been maybe part of the issue. But it'd be nice to see them kind of challenge for each other's position. I guess Jet Spence, the privilege of being Jet Spence is that he can challenge for both positions. He can challenge for Poros and he can challenge for Udogie's.
That's
but
right.
You can't say the same for Poro and Udogie. They only can play on the one side.
That's it. Yeah, no, it goes for all. Yeah, it goes for all of the players. Like, it doesn't just go for Spence. I'm talking about all of the players. I'm not just trying to just point out Spence if people are getting on to me about it, 'cause it's not like
Yeah.
that. Like, it goes for everybody. I just don't think that's a bad thing at all to have.
I agree with this comment just quickly from King Hoddle. Not saying that we are overreading anything, but he's saying Real Madrid looked pretty crap yesterday and Rodrigo looked bang average. I think Real Madrid, also kind of survived actually a scare there if they didn't get a huge, ridiculous penalty decision that went their way. They actually could have ended up drawing their first game, against Marseille. So it just shows that maybe the Champions League, I don't know. I don't think anyone was expecting us to smack Villarreal 4-0, 3-0, but it's just maybe that's what we have to get used to, is that sometimes these games are going to be a little bit cagey and just kind of, just not as scintillating as maybe we would like.
But again, like Jack, like the point is, it's not like about this game specifically. Again, I'm sure everybody's happy with the 3 points. It's the trends that we've been seeing this season so far, right? Like our weaknesses, and it just seems like every game we're seeing a similar like issue in the attack. So again, everybody can struggle in a single game, but for me, it's not even about any single game or result or even the performance. It's taking this whole season so far and just looking forward. And I'm concerned. I just don't see where the goals are coming from in the future. That's
But
my
Can I
Eugene,
just
I'm sure you can agree that Frank has limited options to solve the problem.
yeah. It's not about Frank and his tactics. It's just, man, like I can just imagine if Savia was in that left wing, it would be a completely different team. Just having one more player, or
If we had a left winger,
yeah,
right? Because I think we can all agree. I mean, I think he plays, left inside forward. People are saying they want to play 10. I think we can all agree he's not a left wing, right? I think we're arguing with 5 or 10 yards in the middle, but we're all saying those 20 yards that go towards the touchline. None of us want him playing out there, and up front. It's hard to disagree with Ryan when he goes, of those 3 strikers you mentioned, I'd start Scarlett because, you know what I mean?
Scarlett should go to Netherlands. It's time. He's not made for this league, for English football.
I'm just going to say it. Bring back Lancashire. He's on fire.
So do you know
You're going to
what?
come in.
Like, the one thing
Ryan and then Mia, I think,
happy-
want to come in too.
See, where I'm happy right now, right, that I wasn't happy about last season, and it's probably blatantly obvious what I'm about to say, but at least Frank actually starts waving his hands about and gets irate on pitch, on the touchline. I love seeing that, and I'm glad that we've got a manager now that will actually do something like that. I'm over the moon because he gets angry at the most smallest of things. And you know what? I'd rather have a manager that's angry and being angry at the smallest of things than just sitting there with your hands in your pockets like this and going like that. Do you know what I mean? For 90 minutes. So
yeah, but that hands in your pockets manager won us a trophy, mate. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Do you want to come in on something earlier, Mia? It sounded
I was
like.
going to say, although I get what you're coming from about the scoring of goals, but we have scored quite a few goals so far. I don't think it is maybe it is a bit of an issue, but I don't think it's like we're winning 1-0. We've been winning by 3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals. So it's like, I'm just saying, I don't think that it is a problem, but I don't think it's the biggest problem. I think once Frank gets into them a bit more, I think that we will be better when it comes to attack. I think he's worked on the defence and then he's going to move to the attack. That's my personal opinion. I think there's going to take a bit more time for it to sort of gel, for us to be maybe a bit better attacking wise.
I agree with you, Mia. I actually would push back on what Eugene said there, where I think some of the games, Eugene is correct, that you are kind of questioning where the goals are coming from. But others, I wouldn't say that. Like PSG, we should have won that by more. Like, we could have scored 3-4 against PSG in that Super Cup final. Some of the times where we were turning over the ball were just in such dangerous areas that we should have done a lot more with it. And like you and I agreed on earlier, Mia, that was a problem that we saw last season as well, where we would have the ball in really dangerous positions, but there was just no quality in the final third. So then the goals just wouldn't go in. And then Man City, like we were all saying against Man City, we could have won that 3-4. You know, West
Mhm.
Ham, it could have been 5-0, in that game. Like, I felt like West Ham were actually lucky to get out of the first half, without
But-
one or two conceded from some of those crosses in. Like, they were panicking, so kind
And
of
the
disagree
disallowed
slightly with what
goal.
you said, Eugene. I kind of disagree.
That's my point, Jack. I see what you're saying, but like we just like last season, we do have the chances, but we either make the wrong decision or we don't have
Okay.
enough quality to finish, right? Those chances.
Gotcha.
So if you look at our goals, most of our big chances or goals can come from set pieces, right? If you look at West Ham game, if you look at most games, I just don't see a lot of goals from open play. So again, we might be getting in the right positions, but either the final decision is wrong or we don't have the quality to actually finish our dinner,
yeah, I
like
get what
last
you're
season
saying.
too. Like last season, we could have scored a lot of goals in every single game, but we just didn't have the cutting edge. So that's kind of my thing. I just don't see who's that finisher. Like with Sani, he had an off year, but at least when he gets the ball, he can finish. And right now, I don't know who that finisher is for us. And again, like West Ham, all those games, our set pieces are great, but open play, there's a lot of work to do.
Okay. Do we want to move on to the West Ham game and kind of cover that? Because, we've spoken a lot about the Champions League game. Does anybody have any final pieces on Champions League game? All right. We'll move on to
No,
Ryan.
no, not really. Just
Okay.
one last thing I will say on the Champions League is literally we do just need to just try and pick up those points nice and early. And like I said, let's not get too downhearted when we get to the PSG game, because if we get too downhearted and we don't get 3 points, then don't get on the players' backs or anything, because it's a tough game as it is, like we saw in the Super Cup. So let's just give them a bit of leeway in that game. But apart from that, nothing else to say, mate. I'm good.
I'm in total and utter agreement with both Mia and Ryan, and I said it during pre-season. I said, my biggest concern is that there's going to be an anxiety that goes into the stadium when we're not doing brilliantly, because we've had so much, so much bad times that's been built up that we're like a spring waiting to be upset, right? Waiting for something to go wrong. Whereas you look at Man United of the 90s, they won so many games in the last few minutes, and then won so many games 1-0, playing rubbish. Heaven forbid I mentioned that other team, the South London team.
Well,
when
Liverpool
they
the same right now, right? They've actually
well,
won
Liverpool the
all their
same
games
now,
have been.
exactly. Yeah, they're playing rubbish, and then they're nicking. And the problem is that our fan base has a history of underachieving, whereas their fan bases have a history of overachieving. So they're half expecting to get that, and that goes. Trust me, it translates onto the pitch. The emotions of the stadium gets translated onto the pitch.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful that we as a fan base, are more, they're all like Mia, Ryan, me, and I'm sure Eugene is, patience. Yes, things can be better, but actually it's better that we're winning like this and that there's a problem to solve, and that Frank is saying it's a problem, not right, not that it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Then everybody thinks it's hunky dory, and then it all comes crashing down.
I think
Yeah.
Jason Bell's comment too, which I think was mentioned earlier by Mia and Rain Man, just on Frank has literally said that he has started first with defending and will start to work more on improving the attack. I think the way Frank approached it was just that he's seen that last season under Ange, we conceded the record amount of goals. That last season under Conte, we also, a defensive-minded manager in Conte, we also conceded a record amount of goals. So he's just probably looked at the last few years at Spurs and has just felt like I need to nail down this first and install these principles of not conceding and making sure that we aren't a team that's just going to be wide open every game, just conceding goals left and right, and then work on the other side of things. And I think that was the right way personally to go about it. Personally, I agree with Jason Bell on that. But yeah, he definitely is probably admitting that we definitely still need some work to do on the attacking side of things. That's for sure. There was a controversy around the disallowed Romero goal against West Ham. What did we make of that decision by the referee? And to be honest, if we are going to be a set piece team, I am, a little bit frustrated by that decision, because I felt like what really made me upset was how many games have we seen Arsenal, especially that. I don't like that Gabriel guy, because I think he just gets away with so much in the box of just pushing players, throwing guys to the ground to win a header. And Romero and Van de Ven get punished for being dragged down by the opposition players, not the other way around. So does anyone still have some frustration from that our decision left over? I still do.
I'm going to speak up on this, because you know why it was more frustrating, Jack, is that 2 minutes later, their player was all over Van de Ven.
Yes.
If that's not a goal, then that should have been a penalty then. If we're going to say that the rule is like going to be treated fairly, if that wasn't a goal, then that means that foul was just as bad for it to be a penalty. That's why it was a bloody joke. That is why it was a bloody joke. Not only was they were pushed into by the opposition player, and that's what caused it, it was then a joke that they were all over Van de Ven and nothing was given. Absolute joke of a ref.
No, I completely agree. I thought, if anything, the Van de Ven one that happened minutes later was almost worse than actually the first original decision, because the ball wasn't even being kicked yet, and the guy was already dragging Van de Ven to the floor. It just seemed like a stonewall to me. But and it's just, I would just compare it to other set piece teams that, seem to, I don't know, get away with, the pushing and the shoving and, the crowding of the goalkeeper. But the moment that we're now doing that under a different manager and Thomas Frank, something that we've been crying out for us to be more dangerous from set pieces. And it feels like we're just constantly being flagged up by these referees for it. Just feels, I'm not going to call it bias or anything like that. It just feels unfair, and it feels a bit, I don't know, like somehow one team gets away with it and we don't seem to be able to get away with it.
You know what? If I was going to put my tinfoil hat on, I would say that reputations are what basically causes referees having their minds already about certain players, that they're going to be committing fouls on a certain, do you know what I mean? That they're going to be the ones. And also, if I'm going to put my super tinfoil hat on, I would say since that Liverpool game, we have not been really given the rub of the green, because they're trying to punish us for the fact that we got a wrong decision, which was their fault, not ours. And that still, I think, sits in referees' minds. If I was going to put my super, like I say, tinfoil hat on, which I don't normally do. I'm normally not too much of a
not your hat, your tinfoil crown on. Yeah, go from hat to a crown.
I think it's
okay, crown, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to be 100% consistent with everything that I've said, and I do not blame the referee for that at all.
Really?
Like this, I think, in my view, I stated it earlier in this stream. The referee is human, and when I first saw it, I was like, I can see why he's given it. Right, I can see why he's given it. Romero's, a little bit over Cole Walker-Peters, wasn't it? He's a little bit over Cole Walker-Peters, who I still think we should have bought, by the way. And given 2 years, given 2 years. Over Cole Walker-Peters. I can see why he's given it. The person I blame is the VAR.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got to blame
because
someone.
the VAR then gets the benefit of actually seeing with his eyes, right?
Everything.
The goalkeeper pushed the West Ham player, that pushed Van de Ven, that pushed Romero, that he saw the dominoes, and he still didn't, and he didn't overturn it. The referee is allowed to make mistakes. The VAR is not, and unfortunately, VAR doesn't work. Why doesn't VAR work? Because they have an inherent bias towards supporting their mate.
It's a boys' club. No.
It's rubbish. It doesn't work. It's rubbish. It's complete anathema of what it's basically jobs. It's more jobs for referees who are ultimately causing all the problems, right?
So you have more
So-
sympathy for the
I disagree
referee
a
on the
bit,
pitch than
Rain.
you do with VAR, basically. It seems like right now.
I
Yeah, Eugene,
like.
come
I
in.
think the issue is simple. The issue is the quality of refereeing across the league. It's very poor as far as VAR is concerned. Like VAR works if it's an offside, call or penalty or handball. Situations like this, yes, it was a good goal. I mean, there was some contact. So with VAR, they would just always go with the decision on the pitch. If the referee would have called it a good goal, VAR wouldn't have overturned it, right? That's just the way it is. So for decisions like that, VAR is going to go with what the original call is, because it there was some contact, so VAR is not going to be interpreting what actually happened. It's on the referee. So they just look at if there's anything obvious that the ref missed. If it's a judgment call, VAR is going to go with the referee's decision.
See, the problem is, right, that it really annoys me, and with VAR, and it works so well on the international stage, or it did when it first came. And I can't believe I'm even saying this, but it works well at the World Cups and stuff like that, right? But then when it comes down to the club side of things, they have just balls deeped it right up. And that's just the nicest way I can kind of put it, because quite literally they've balls deeped it right up. Literally, but the international level it works like it's, I don't know, like
You know why?
your
Do you know why it works? Do you know why it works at international level?
Why?
It's because they're not mates.
Yeah, that could actually be
The
part of
people
it.
in the bar come from a different country from the three guys who are on the pitch, so they're not mates. So they actually re-referee the game. Whereas in the Premier League, they're all buddies, and the last thing the guy in the bar wants, right, which is wrong. I mean, I'm a bit of I'm a stickler for rules. If I saw something, I was like, no, I think you got it wrong, mate. I'd just tell him, right? But they're not doing that. They have a job preservation mode, which is we're all in it together. So Ryan,
Yeah,
that's why it works at international level. It's because they're not mates. The bar and the guy on the pitch, the guy in the bar actually has the balls to go, no, you got it wrong, mate.
But what I will say, where I will kind of like, wasn't there like the last World Cup that it was like, or there was some, it was either a European Championship or something like that, where it was all English, and it worked perfectly well there as well.
And I don't.
Depends on the call. It just depends what the issue is. But like when we're talking about us not getting calls, I remember last season against Arsenal when Gabriel scored that header. It was a two-handed push in the back of Romero. It stood as a good goal. So it's just, I think it's just the refereeing. It's
So
just poor.
what you're saying is, Eugene, it's not consistent, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's poor refereeing.
Well,
But again, VAR, it's
consistently
not the
bad.
technology, it's the people who are running it. So again, it's useful for offside call or penalty calls, but when it's a judgment call like that, it's always going to go with the referee's decision on the pitch.
It feels like VAR is
why-
more of a lottery game, where it's just one day you're lucky, you're going to get the decision that's the
Yeah.
correct decision. Another day you're just going to be, just left just frustrated, by just such an obvious decision that needs to be overturned, and they just don't. It just feels like a lottery game, and
So
then some teams benefit from it more than others.
Yeah, it'll come as no surprise that I don't believe in the narrative that most people talk about, and I hear what most people say, and I think you're talking out your ass. You're saying what other people are saying, and presenting it as your own view because you can't do your own analytics. Everyone who says that the on-field referee should have should be the king of all of the decisions is wrong. They're wrong. What should happen is he should make whatever decisions he's making, right? And then, in my view, if there's a controversial decision, I personally I personally do what they do in cricket and give the captain or the manager the ability to have 3 or 2 renewable, if correct, challenges. But the VAR should have no discussion with the on-pitch referee. Should have no contact with him whatsoever. Ideally, he shouldn't even know the decision he's made, if at all possible, and he should then re-referee it. That way, you'll get rid of all of this bias. I'm gonna agree with my mate. I know what he's done. I already think it's a foul because he gave a foul, right? You can get rid of all of that, and you get a new perspective.
No,
And
the
that's-
challenge
that's
system
the
definitely
way-
works. In
So
the US,
then would
other
you
way-
works.
Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, so would you say then, right, we should have like foreign referees like managing the VAR then, and the Premier League like it's been with like, and
Someone-
then like, have the English ones go out there and we trade them over like, I don't know,
someone-
like Spanish
Someone said that
officials.
Slovenian referee last night was making his best audition to become a Premier League referee. That's how bad he was. Which I
No,
think is pretty
yeah.
funny.
Do you know what I would do? Whilst I do get why you say that, but Rain, but for me, what I would do is every decision that could be like, say, what they would deem, obviously not free kicks, but the bigger decisions, all should be checked for 90 seconds by the VAR, and then they should say to the referee, go and look at the screen. That's how, that way the referee still gets to look and gets to see, and then they can get a second look at it. But VAR should have 90 seconds to decide. Every single one of those should be looked at by VAR, so there's no bias, that every single one gets looked at. And if they think it's wrong, they should, if they think the ref made the wrong decision, go and have a look at it. That's
that
the
just
way.
you're
It's gonna be me
implying-
as
is that just
social-
implying that they,
But
when
they
they
could-
do tell him to go to the monitor, they're usually telling him, you have to change the decision. You're kind of saying, we want you to look at the monitor and you can make a second pick, but you can tell us, no, I stand by my decision. Because that's the funny thing.
Yeah,
We
that's right.
say, I stand by my decision.
I don't agree. I don't agree. The
Okay.
going to the monitor thing, like Jack's just said, is just their way of covering their back. It's not, right? It's just their way of going, the on-field, our mate, our little kingdom, where the on-field referee is like the king of everything, is not, is this perfect human being, right? It's their way of protecting them. No bollocks. Absolute crap. If we're going to have VAR, it should be done properly. And if we think it's a controversial decision, in my view, 2 renewable challenges by the captain or the coach, which also they could get wrong, by the way. And the VAR completely re-referees it. It has nothing to do with the on-pitch referee. The on-pitch referee can go and have a cup of bloody tea, as far as I'm concerned, whilst it's being
Save him the extra run.
is being performance reviewed.
No,
Right?
for sure, Rain, for sure. Like as I said, it works really well in American sports, right? NBA and NFL, they use the challenge system, and I agree, it
And
works
cricket.
really well.
There's Ashes series that have been won because England in I think it was 2011. I think it was 2011. England won the Ashes because they were better at saying that decision needs to go to VAR than the Aussies. Michael Clark got it wrong all the time. He lost all of his challenges. But I can't remember the guy behind the stumps. It was 15 years ago. The guy behind the stumps constantly got the right challenges, which meant that he constantly got the challenges back, and England got the wickets. It's a skill in and of itself, and that's the way I am. I'm sick of VAR. I'm sick of the way that the PGMOL or the IFAB actually, which is the international refereeing body, have created it as a job generation scheme for themselves. It's crap.
Would we rather go to a King Hoddle suggesting scrap a lot of it and just have it be automatic offsides and goal line technology? Would we just go back to that?
Yep.
It's like a version of It's like a better
what I
improved
wanted to-
version of what it used to be. It's just the automatic offside. I like the automatic offsides. I think that shit's
And goal line technology.
And it would
Yeah.
take a second right now. For every goal, you have to wait for 5 minutes to see if you can celebrate or not. It's nuts. Like, these decisions can be made instantly by goal line tech.
Yeah.
But
We would
what
miss
I
some,
wanna-
would we be then more content with just some terrible decisions, end up being made?
We get them now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It become
we've
more,
had
that's a
that
more
for
human
years.
version of what it
The
is.
thing is, we've had the human version for all these years.
Yeah.
So-
Would you go back to it, Mia? Would you go back to what King Hoddle's kind of saying here? Just a hybrid version?
Yeah, I think so, because I think it all balances itself out, and I don't think the VAR gets more. I don't think it's corrected that much if you think about how many mistakes they've got to come out and apologise for. So I don't think it really does, if I'm honest, make it like a massive difference. The only thing is
But what
offside
I
and the goal line technology is the only useful things I think that there is.
Sorry,
But what I
Byron
do
scored.
want to throw in the mix, though, what I do want to throw in the mix, yeah, right, and this is more to Rain than it is to anybody else. Do you think the way that they're talking to the people when they're doing the VAR, is that just a cover up as well, or do you think that's a good thing that is happened? Or because we have all called it, saying that we want, well, not all of us, but a certain majority of fans all over the UK have said that they want the referees talking to see if we're getting the right decision or not. Do you still stick by that narrative with VAR now, or no? Because like the talking part of it, where they're saying like yes, this, that, or the other down their bloody microphone so that the stadium can hear.
I mean, I see they're two separate issues, all right. Two separate issues. The referee saying this is why I've given this decision. He can do that on the run, although they've got enough going on, I think. But and VAR, I think I don't honestly, I don't really care. I just want the game to move faster than it currently does, and I just don't see that we get any benefit from VAR at all. I think it's just as controversial as if we didn't have it. So do the right thing and just get rid of it. I know that a lot of people don't like him, but his project management methodologies are pretty sound. And Elon Musk says that the right part is no part. And in VAR's case, the right bar is no VAR.
I think we'll move on to maybe one more conversation, or maybe another if we have time for it. But just the thoughts on Spurs in the West Ham game, just being so dangerous from set pieces. Pop Matazar dedicated his header to the assistant coach, Andreas Georgsen, who had spotted that if we just whip that ball towards the back post instead of in the middle, we should be able to get a clean goal. And, it's just the question really is, how refreshing is it to finally be good at set pieces? Because, last year we were being told, set pieces aren't a priority. It's not something that we really care about. We didn't have even really like a total specialist, in the set piece department. Antonio Conte, I think we were like okay from set pieces, with that Italian guy that we had brought in. But Jose Mourinho, we weren't very good at them. So I don't know. Is anybody happy to be good at set pieces? Personally, I am. I think it's the reason that so many teams that are in the lower echelon of the table end up staying up sometimes, is if you end up being good at set pieces, it goes a long way for me personally.
Yeah, I would say yes, because like when you look at everything else that goes on, right, in football, where all, like we was just saying about VAR, the decisions are going wrong. But like if you're taking a throw in, right, like we do at the moment, you can't be offside if you've got a player that's like behind, in front of that defender. You can't be offside from a throw in. So could we pick up a lot more goals from that technique alone? Yes, definitely. And that's why I think not just the throw-ins. I'm thinking of corners as well. But we have seen since we've started with Frank, them throw-ins have been lethal, in my opinion. corners have been lethal, but they're not as lethal as our throw-ins, personally, because the way that ball can just travel. I mean, could we get someone who's a throw-in expert, literally, to come into the club and just throw-ins every 5 minutes? Yeah, why not? Could we even improve some of the players that we've got that are good at long throws and just make them better? Definitely. So yeah,
I think there's a bit of
personally,
I think there's a bit of snobbery in the game.
Danzo.
Go ahead, Rain. Go ahead.
Kevin, long throw specialist Danzo. We've got one.
Yeah, and Bergvall seems to be the other one. I like being good at set pieces. I think it's just something that's kind of underutilized, and I almost wonder if there's like a bit of snobbery in the game from the Pep Guardiola type guys in the world that just are so obsessed with possession all the time that, there is, I think a good thing about being really direct and focusing a lot of your attention on that, because I think it can go a long way. I think it can be a cheat code against certain teams that might not even be good at defending them. Also, like Jason Bell is saying, I love that we score from set pieces, and I'm also not terrified anymore that we'll concede from defending one. I feel the same way. I think it goes a very long way, and I just wonder if maybe with the ticky-tack of football period, there was just a bit of that maybe taken out of the game. Stoke City, right, had that reputation, with Liam, Rory Delap, with the long throws. And I just wonder if there was like a period where people would turn their nose up at that type of thing, that type of way to score. And I've always been a big fan of it.
It's very weird. It's very strange seeing us being good at set pieces. Even like the corner takers, every time the ball is right, like in the right spot. I remember every time, we couldn't beat the first man, even like Ericsson back in the day.
Yeah.
So now when Xavi's taking a corner or Kudus, every corner is perfect. It's right where it's supposed to be. And it's a strange feeling where this was our weakness for a long time. And now I'm more excited for corners than I've ever been. Every time it's a dangerous opportunity. So,
Yeah.
Definitely should take it. Ooh, penalty, Harry Kane.
Let's be clear. Roughly 30% of Premier League goals come from set pieces, excluding penalties. So for us to now, everybody loves a worldie, right? Everybody loves a worldie. Everybody loves a Yeboah. Everybody loves mind you, a lot of Harry Kane's goals came from set pieces. Corners is a lot of his work. Everybody loves a sunny goal against, his Puskas goal. Everybody loves these goals. The harsh reality is you need to score goals to win matches. And if 30% of Premier League goals are coming from set pieces, and we're like, and we're not scoring them, and it goes, like Jack said, it's not an Ange problem, it goes way, way back, then it's a problem. And I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving that we're a threat, and it's so well executed. Sarr's goal against West Ham was a brilliant goal. Bergval's goal was it wasn't a set piece, but the way that Romero slows the ball down to bring the opposing midfield forward a little bit, so that he can make his his cut through balls. But this time, what a cross! It's a cross, right? It's a cross straight down the pitch. What a cross that was! And it was almost a set piece, because it's really important that we're good at this, and that we're a threat, because too often,
especially given our issues scoring, like Arsenal last season when they had their scoring issues, they won a bunch of games by getting set piece goals. So for us, until we figure out our offensive flow, we got to score from set pieces. Ooh.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going back to like the early 2000s again. And you know what? I just love that when you feel like you're going back to the early 2000s, where it used to always be where people were kicking the shit out of each other. I know you can't do that now with the tackles and stuff, but when you're seeing the retro ways that you used to be able to score, just set pieces, long throw-ins, free kicks, Oh, it's like to me, it's like having a wet dream. Is all I'm gonna say.
I mean,
Sounds like you love it more than anyone else, then, Ryan. Move on to maybe another quick topic here.
Oh, do I not get a say in it either?
Yeah, sorry, Mia.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
forgive me. What are your thoughts? Do you love a set piece, Mia, or
Yeah,
are
of
you getting
course.
wet dreams from set pieces?
I mean, that's a bit too far and a little bit of a personal thing that I think you should
Yeah,
keep
I
to
think
yourself,
keep to
Ryan. But
ourselves. I agree.
that's
Yeah.
just me. I think it's fantastic. I think that we need to utilise whatever we can to get a scoring opportunity. I don't know why anybody would think it's the negative thing. We have to, because if, like you say, 30% of goals are from set pieces, then we're missing out on those goals if we don't utilise what we've got, which is an ability to do good set pieces, because we've shown that we can do them well. So for me, it's only a positive to add to the score sheet. So I've got absolutely no problem with it. Going back to old school, long throws. Danso's probably the best at it. That boy can throw a ball, mate. I don't know his technique. Yeah, it's the strength, and it's the way you do your back. Obviously, the flexibility to be able to like get yourself all the way back, like your arms and your shoulder flexibility is something as well. But he's definitely got it, and Bergval's not too bad at it either. So yeah, I think that it's a really positive thing to be able to utilise.
can I
But
just throw a grenade in?
Go on.
A rain grenade. I'm absolutely convinced. You know, Slobozai won the goal of the month. Absolute travesty, by the way. Richie's goal was so much better. But Slobozai won the goal of the month for his free kick. I'm absolutely convinced that if teams, instead of taking a direct shot at goal from free kick outside the box, if they passed it at the penalty spot where all the players are, I'm sure the attacking team would score more goals. I'm absolutely certain that the ping pong, you know, the pinball that would happen in the penalty area would result in the ball going in the back of the net more than the 1 in 20 times that the player actually gets over the wall and gets it in the back of the net past the keeper. I'm convinced of it.
You're saying
But
when
what I
people
wanna-
do that, like 3 or 4 guys stand over the ball, one does a bit of a dummy, the other one kind of dinks it over the wall, those sort of type of
Or just
routines.
passes it. Just passes it. Pass the ball to the left hand. If you're on the right hand side, just pass it to the left hand side of the wall, and somebody just and then just let the pinball go. What it reminds me of is when I was 12 years old, and we were all. I played rugby at school, and we would go, and for our warm up, do you know what we would do? We would, for our warm up, what we would not do is little shuttle runs, is practice passing. What we would do is absolutely to a person, we would all put the ball down, tee it up, and try to kick it over the posts. Right? We would try to score 3 points because it's a worldie, and that's why players want to do a Slobozai and score from a direct free kick. I'm absolutely convinced you'd score more goals if you just allowed it to play pinball.
See, this is what I just want to ask Mia quickly, and it's actually interesting. Does she think then that Romero is flexible enough to actually do something like that? That's what I'm interested in getting Mia's point, because I know she loves a little bit of Romero. So,
Maybe.
Mia?
Sorry, I stepped away from my phone for 2 minutes. So what was we talking about? Romero? I can talk about Romero. What we're saying about him?
I'm not sure what the
I was
question was,
saying-
but he's saying
It
something
was
about
more
Romero
like
being
I
flexible. I'm
said, do
not
you
sure what
think
that means.
Romero is as flexible? Do you think he's as flexible?
I don't know, but I'd love to find out.
Yeah,
Oh no, I was asking about like just because obviously I know you're a big lover of Romero, and I was thinking, do you think he's as flexible?
No,
as
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that he looks a bit more not rigid, but yeah, I don't think he's quite got, because Joe, what it is I've got hypermobility in my shoulders, and it's because that movement, having that extra mobility in your shoulders enables you to have different, like your movement, you can move your shoulders in different ways. So if you've got that flexibility of shoulders, when you're obviously with the ball over your head, it gives you that little bit extra if you're like that extra bit of flexibility in your shoulders. So I probably would say no, that he hasn't. But I can test it out. I can ask him to test it out for me.
Yeah, moving on from Romero's flexibility, let's finish off with Thomas Frank. He's done really well at rotation. You have to be honest, maybe compared to other managers of the past who kind of stuck with sort of the same 11 game in, game out. He's done a lot of rotation. So this Brighton game that's coming up away from home, maybe a place that we've probably deserved more points from, you could say, in the past. We've kind of gotten robbed there maybe a few times. Do we want to see some more rotation from Thomas Frank in terms of the starting 11 from the Champions League? Any players that they want to see? I know Xavi Simons has been mentioned being thrown into the middle. Brennan Johnson hasn't started the last 2 games. Maybe you throw him in there. What sort of rotation do we want to see brought to the side? We'll go around the horn and we'll finish off there. Ryan, you seem to want to come in.
Yeah, definitely not. No, not when it comes to Johnson. I'd rather not. I'd rather not see Johnson play any part of a game.
Even if he got a tap in last minute to win us a game in the quarter final, no.
What sort of what team would you like to see, Ryan, against Brighton?
What team would I like to see? Well, Vicario is obviously the obvious choice in goal. Then I would actually say your doggy on the left-hand side and have Spence on the right. I know this is sounding ridiculous, but I know, and I probably know it's not going to happen. And then I'd obviously have the two of the first team defenders who we normally have in there in Romero, Mickey.
Okay.
I would actually play Sarr in that Polina role. I know. And then
seems like you're just trying to be controversial.
No.
Okay.
And then I'd probably have who else I'd have Simmons in that cam position because I'd love to see what he can do in the cam. Definitely. With maybe a Bentancur sitting next to Sarr, maybe. And then I'd have Richarlison on the left. Kulan Mark Moreni or whatever his name is on the right with Kudos on the right-hand side, personally.
All right. Eugene, I'll go down to you just because I haven't heard from you in a bit. Any sort of rotation you want to see, Frank?
I think I wouldn't be opposed to giving Mickey a rest and playing Danso because we need to be careful of with Van der Ven and his hamstrings. So Danso hasn't played in a while. Otherwise, I think Frank is going to play Polina, Bentancur, and Bergvall probably. I do want to see Simmons at 10, like we talked about, and Odegaard on the wing, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, and also Udogie as well. I wouldn't mind seeing him on the left and giving Porro maybe a rest or Spence a rest. So I think the team is going to be the same as we saw, yesterday or last night. But I would rest Van der Ven and probably rest Spence as well. Those are the 2 changes I'd make.
You wouldn't rest Porro?
Well,
I feel like Porro's already lined up to have
but
another 4,000-minute season, it feels like.
Yeah, I would, but I don't think Frank is going to do it. But
yeah,
I would rest Porro as well for sure.
If anything, maybe managers are banking on the fact that Porro was the only player that didn't get injured last season. So maybe they just know that he can be pushed to his limits a bit more.
I also want to see Archie Gray get some playing time. Again, we need to give him some minutes at the 6. And then as far as the striker, I just don't want to see Richarlison. I think it's money time. I want to see what he can do. I just cannot watch Richarlison play.
Is Brighton a good game, though, to give that to Archie Gray? It feels like at the minute he's like 3rd in the pecking order.
Yeah, I mean, I won't start him, but I would at least give him 10, 15 minutes at the end. Just because otherwise, if it's only in the cups he'll play, that's not enough time for him. I just want to see what he can do.
That being said, though, he did start against Burnley, so maybe my bias, could be
Yeah.
coming up here against Archie Gray. Rain Man would know. Rain, any changes to the starting 11 that you would make?
I mean, I'm loving the fact that he's doing a good deal of rotation.
Yeah.
And
so early into the season as well, which I think is a good thing for team morale.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want, we know Ryan is a principled and robust, is a man of robust principles. I don't think Frank is going to follow that approach. I think we'll probably see Tell or Johnson at the weekend. I think Frank will not abandon them. I think he will try to get try to get them working. He'll try to unlock them. I'm absolutely look. We shouldn't have bought Tell, but we shouldn't have bought Tell not because he's we shouldn't have bought Tell because he's not ready. Yeah. There's promise there, but he's not ready. He's not. And Johnson, I'm just going to say it. No, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say it.
Don't do it.
I'm going to say it.
I'm going to do it.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Against West Ham, he came on. He put 2 crosses in. Right. Against West Ham, he came on. He put 2 crosses in. There is just the chance that Frank and his coaches might just get that boy going.
He doesn't get enough. I think it's obvious what Frank thinks of him. He doesn't get a lot of time. Even when he came in, yes, he can score that goal, but his lack of work rate and just lack of ability to take on his man, I think he'll be great in situations.
I think the counter. Sorry, I think Johnson and Tell have got the same problem, which is they're incredibly fast. They've been fast since they were 14 years old. They were faster than all of their classmates. They were probably faster than the year above them. They're probably faster than the year above them, which meant that I reckon they got away with not being good footballers. No, they've got away with just relying on pace, just relying on their innate natural ability. And the problem is, when you get to 22 and you're suddenly playing with Premier League footballers from around the world, all of a sudden that doesn't wash anymore. When you're 20 to 22, and you've got to achieve. And you know what? Sometimes Salah failed at Chelsea, went away, had to work his way back up, came to Liverpool, succeeded. Harry Kane failed at every single loan, got his chance, had to work his way into Sherwood's good graces. Sherwood gave him a chance, he took it. I don't think Johnson and Tell have ever had to work for what they've achieved. I'm sure that they've done the minutes, but I don't think they've had to work as hard as people who haven't had the natural talent, the natural physicality that they've had. And there is just a chance, just saying it. There is just, I know we all agree on what they currently bring to the team. There is just a chance that Frank and the coaches might give them the rocket up that they need, not least from not playing them.
Yeah, you would think that that's the natural thing, is that if you're not playing and you're not starting games, that's the hunger to improve. You hope that's the case for either of them and maybe both of them. Mia, any changes? Would you like to see Johnson come into the team?
I think that he will, because I think that, like exactly what Rain said, he's not going to do what Ryan said and just completely oust him, because that's not what you do when you've got a team that you need to keep happy, because obviously he's at the club. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think that we won't start with Moane, because you saw how unfit he was. I just don't think that's a good idea to start him, as much as people say about Richarlison. I just don't think that is a very good idea at all. Resting some of the, like resting maybe Porro, Mickey, I think actually would be a good thing. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Put Destiny in and Spence on the right and see how he gets on the right hand side instead. So yeah, I think there could definitely be a few adjustments. I'd play Benny and Paulinia because Paulinia didn't play a lot, so he could play them and then switch Benny for somebody else, and give him a bit of a rest so it kind of rotates again. So there's definitely enough options to be able to rotate. And I don't think that actually now the quality drops off that much when we're talking about rotating our midfield and our defence especially. So I think actually that's not, like I say, it's not a bad thing to be able to do that and to give players a bit of a rest so they're not, being overworked and pick up those injuries like last season.
I think that's been the masterstroke, actually, one of the many from Thomas Frank, is the fact that even whatever my biases are with certain players and whatnot, he is giving a lot of these guys, to a degree, based off, what they're doing in training or whatever. He's not completely written off everyone, maybe apart from Basuma by the signs of things. He is giving almost everyone chances here and there to see what they can do. Some of them are going to take it, some of them aren't going to take it, but he's not just throwing so early into the season guys under the bus, or making it clear to them, these are the guys that I prefer, these are the ones I don't prefer. He's giving them a lot of early chances, and I think that is good for squad morale, and it's also good so that when you do have to call on them at some point, if you've already given them chances before that, that they are going to be keen to try to take it and prove something to you, instead of just feeling like, oh, he's only throwing me in because of this injury or whatever. I think it's something that many managers, I think, in the past have maybe failed to do, probably because the players that were in the squad depths were just shit, and so they just knew that there was going to be a big drop off. Whereas now, maybe it's a bit of a different story.
Fingers crossed, Jack. Yeah, none of us actually believe that that's going to happen, but we can hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of us think that Johnson, even if we get a couple of good games out of him, is just going to revert back to I'm not going to take on my man and I'm going to pass it backwards. And yes, I'm going to get goals, but he's going to revert back to type. He's going to go back to factory reset. But you can hope, right?
I mean, to push back, Rain, on what you said for a minute, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Johnson. However, I would not put him in the same category as Tell. At least for all his faults, Johnson does score goals. Tell right now is absolutely useless. He does nothing. So with Johnson, again, like when we're behind or when we play on the counter, he's a good person to bring off the bench to stretch the pitch. With Tell, I have no idea what he does.
He's an athlete. He's an athlete.
Invisible. So Johnson, I wouldn't start him, but again, he's a great squad option when we need him. Tell though, I just don't see it.
Yeah, maybe now we're ironically, despite my bias with Johnson, maybe it will be more the Tell fanboys. They'll be more upset, with towards the end. I kind of agree with you, Gene. I as much as I have criticism for Johnson, he's inevitable at times when it comes to just doing nothing but somehow scoring. Whereas with Tell, kind of just does a lot of nothing really, without scoring, and he does miss chances. Like that's the thing. When he has had chances, he does miss them. And like you said too, like. I think Rain Man might have said this. Their work rate off of the ball is just as bad as each other. It feels like they do lack that enthusiasm off the ball.
See, Jack, I've got one thing I wanted to ask everyone on this panel, really, just quickly, right? Would you have me as the Tottenham coach just because how robust I'd be? This is to everyone on the panel.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't even let you coach 3-year-olds.
I thought your Romero flexibility question was weird. This one, takes the cake. No, Ryan. Unfortunately, no disrespect.
I'm gonna coach.
No, I mean it with the uttermost disrespect. Actually, I feel like absolutely bloody not.
Super. Yeah, go ahead, Rain Man, if you want to answer that one.
Yeah, I've got it. Eugene, have you got an answer? I've got an answer.
Go for it.
Okay. Ryan, I absolutely would have you as part of the coaching team. You need good cop, bad cop. You would absolutely be the bad cop. They would not get anything past you, mate. And if they needed to, it would be like go to room 12, and they would all know. They would all know that going to room 12, they're going to get a bollocking.
Actually, I have an answer. So I coach under 11s. So Rhino, first you should be my assistant, and then you can step up from there. So
There you go.
you can work
Grassroots.
with me first.
THFC till we die with the super sticker.
I wouldn't
Appreciate you,
even let
John.
I wouldn't even let him near under 11s, Eugene. Are you kidding? These poor kids, man. You're
No,
going
fair
to
enough.
traumatise them.
I just feel I just want to give coaches chances, or potential coaches. So I'll take him under my wing. I'll teach him some common sense.
There you go. Apprenticeship coming through for you,
Exactly.
Ryan.
He'd have your job in 6 months.
Hey,
Coming, yeah, he's gonna
that's actually true.
sabotage, mutiny.
Yeah. Like Ryan
THFC
Mason.
till we die. Thank you, sir, for the super sticker. Appreciate you, John. He's thrown in a cool face. We are wrapping up the show here, and thanks you guys for keeping me company. Thanks for making these fan shows possible. And I put in Mia's channel, by the way, so please everybody go over to Mia's channel, show her some love. Go over to Ryan's as well, Playful Spurs. Show the guy some love. Subscribe to his channel too. And we'll see you all next week. Probably go for Wednesday again, I'd imagine, just because we can then recover from the first game and then, review on the next Champions League game as well against Bodo Glimt. Crazy enough, we're going back up there, up to the Arctic Circle. Hopefully it's not too cold as of yet. But thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Winning
Spurs.
streak
Thomas
continues.
Frank
On to
trust.
Brighton. And the Slim
Thomas
Frank we
Frank trust.
trust.